everyone, it's Darby with rejoiceandcreate.com, and today I'd like to share this little project with you today. It is so cute. I think it would look very sweet on the table at Thanksgiving dinner or any fall family celebration. And I have Happy Thanksgiving on it, but certainly you can use it as a name card as well, and by writing the guest's name on it. It's certainly a sweet little pumpkin, but it also is a treat holder. So if you take it apart, you can see that there is one Ferraro Rocher sitting in the center of it. Now, I had to say that I originally made it for the giant Hershey's Kisses, and one of the giant Hershey's Kisses would fit right in the center of there without this little box in it. But when I went to find my Hershey's Kisses, I could not find a single one. I don't know if that happens around your house as well. So I just made a little box for the Ferraro Rocher to hold it in place, because there's no tabs that hold the sides together for the little pumpkin. So it keeps it in the center, and certainly any candy you can put in there that would fit in the little box, or you can just leave it in the middle. If you want to do smaller pieces of candy, I would go ahead and put it into a little cellophane bag or baggie. So what you need for this adorable little pumpkin is 2 pieces of the foil frenzy, and I'm using the striped one this time. These are 2 inches by 9 inches. And for the leaves and the tendrils, and if you want to put a sentiment on the front, I used about a 5 1/4 by, or 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 sheet. I cut my 8 1/2 by 11 sheet into quarters, and that's what I had. So that would be sufficient. And if you're doing the little box inside, you just need a piece of coordinating paper, and I'm using the piece I offcut. That's 3 inches by 3 inches. The last thing you'll need is a piece of ribbon for the stem, and I'm using the Tranquil Tide to match the Tranquil Tide paper, and this one's about 10 inches long. Alright, let's start by making our pumpkin box itself, and I have the 2 pieces of 2 inches by 9 inch paper, and go ahead and put the 9 inch side up, and we're going to score this at 1 1/2 inches, at 3 1/2 inches, at 5 1/2 inches, and at 7 1/2 inches. So 1 1/2, 3 1/2, 5 1/2, and 7 1/2. And we'll do exact same thing to the other piece. So 1 1/2, 3 1/2, 5 1/2, and 7 1/2. Alright, so let's go ahead and fold and burnish our score lines. Alright, we'll go ahead and bring the tag topper punch in. So go ahead and slip one end in and make sure it's all the way to the top, because when I figured out how to line up these openings in the Scalloped Tag Topper Punch, you needed to push this paper in all the way to the end to give you the right dimensions. Alright, do that for all of your ends. Make sure it's pushed all the way up there. All right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is glue those together. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one center right in the middle, and that's what we're going to glue together, the section that's right in the middle, and we're going to glue it together in a cross. And I'll go ahead and use some of the Tango glue, because I need a little wiggle room. If you're better at this and you want to try the maybe some tear and tape or some of the fast fuse, go ahead. I just need a little bit of wiggle room because I like to make sure that it gets right between all of my fold lines and that it all lines up square. Okay, so there we are. And let me go ahead and grab a block, and we're going to let that adhere while we do the stem part. Now if you see the stem and the leaves, you might notice that this is actually the daisy punch. So we're going to punch 2 of the daisies, and we're going to just cut some tendrils that are just about 1/8 of an inch or a little bit wider. So let me go ahead and get the cutter in, and I'll show you how I did that. You can certainly cut these by hand, the 1/8 of an inch tendrils. I'm not always that steady, but certainly this is nature, and there's nothing exactly straight in nature. But what I did was if you see the line that the cutting blade runs down in the center, and right to the right and to the left of it, there's another line that's about 1/8 of an inch, and that's where the strip sits into the cutter, into the Stampin' trimmer. I move my paper until it lines up with that, and that gives me about 1/8 of an inch. See, it makes a nice little tendril, and I'll go ahead and cut a couple of those because I think they're darling on the pumpkin. Alright, so I have my 2 tendrils, and now I'm also going to punch out 2 daisy punches. And this will become the leaves of my pumpkin. Okay. Alright, so to put this together, what I did is I used the 1/4 of an inch punch. And I know this is a retired punch for Stampin' Up! I still have mine, but a standard office punch is normally about 1/4 of an inch. You can try the 1/8 of an inch. I just couldn't get my ribbon through. So I'm using a little bit bigger one. So go ahead and punch that right in the middle, or thereabouts, of each of your daisies. Now we're also going to prepare a little tendril, so go ahead and curl that, and you can go ahead and get a pencil or something else that's skinny and just wrap it around. And I just kind of rub it over the pencil so it'll give me a nice tendril. And I'll do that with this other one as well. Okay, so I've got my tendrils and I've got my leaves. And we'll go ahead and put those together. And I'm going to bring out my silicone mat so I don't glue it to the paper because I have a habit of doing that. So we'll put a little bit of glue around the circle in the center. She says, okay, come on out. And I'm going to take one of my tendrils and stick it down, coming out between some leaves. And I'll take the other tendril, maybe over here, and do the same. Oops. Alright, so now I'm going to make sure that there's some glue on the top of those ends of tendrils so it all sticks together. Oop. Apparently there's some glue on my fingers as well. And go ahead and line up your daisies, the center of the daisy, the circle, but offset the leaves so that it makes a full looking top to your pumpkin. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and change this over here to hold that in place while that one dries, and we'll get the rest of our pumpkin together. Now if you're going to use the Ferraro Rocher or any of the other candies about the same size like Linder balls, I made a little seat for it, a little box for it, right, so it would sit in the middle of my pumpkin. And just take a 3" by 3" square. So what I did is I took this and I just scored at 3/4 of an inch all the way around. And we're just making a little box for the Ferraro to sit in at the bottom of the pumpkin. So you make this up just like a normal little box. Cut up and do a little notch. On both sides. And then turn around and do the same on the other side. And as I said, if you find your, if you get the Hershey Kiss, you don't need this because it will fill the space in the bottom of that and keep itself in the center. But the Ferraro kind of moved around and I wanted it to sit in one place in the middle of the pumpkin. So that's why I did the little 3 by 3 square. And you know, it doesn't have to be the same paper. You can actually use a coordinating paper or a piece of cardstock to sit in the center as well. Even just the plain craft, if you have some craft sitting around. Alright, fold and burnish all the score lines. So I get them all. And just make it into a little box. And I'm using some fast fuse on this one because of the foil. Just go ahead and put some on all 4 of your tabs. and turn it into a little box. Alright, so I have a little box there. So I'll bring my pumpkin back and I'll just put a couple strips of fast fuse right on the center of the base, and I'll just center this the best I can. Alright, and that's where my Ferraro Rocher is going to sit. Let me find my other one. Alright, there it sits. As I said, any of the similar sized candies will fit in there as well, and if you have the giant Hershey Kiss, then that will sit there nicely even without the box, and you don't need to make the little box. Alright, in order to close up our pumpkin, we have our 10-inch piece of ribbon, and I'm using the finely woven ribbon that's tranquil tied, and it will match our leaves. On the last pumpkin I used old olive. So you make a loop and just go ahead and tie an overhand knot and snug the overhand knot down as close to the bottom as you can. Alright, and that's going to give us our stem, the loop for the pumpkin. I'll go ahead and cut that off and make that a little neat, a little shorter and neat. Alright, and this goes together very, very easily. There's one piece that lays on the top and there's another piece that lays on the bottom. We're going to start on the top piece. So go ahead and take your loop and thread it through one of the slots and thread it through the opposite slot. Alright, so go ahead and pull one of the other sides through, and finally the fourth side. Isn't that so cute? Alright, let's bring our leaf back in. And it certainly looks a little flat right now, so what I did was I took a few of these and I kind of curled some of them up, and I curled others of them down, and I tried to be very gentle with them because I have torn off a few of them as well. And some of my pumpkins looked a little more worn than others, but it just makes it look more natural. Alright, so there we've got that, and just to give it a little bit of glitz, is I took some of the glitter enamel dots, and I used the old olive ones on the old olive, and there's not one in Tranquil Tide, but I'm going to use the old olive ones on the Tranquil Tide too. I'm going to go for the lighter ones to make it look like a few little dewdrops. And just scatter 3 of them around. Maybe one that's a little darker. Okay. Alright, and then to finish this, you just go ahead and thread the ribbon through the hole. Isn't that adorable? Wouldn't that make a wonderful place setting? Certainly you can play with your tendrils. If you want them tighter, again, go ahead and just recurl them around your pencil. I used the Happy Thanksgiving from the Teeny Tiny Wishes set. And I stamped it with Early Espresso. And punched it out with the classic label punch. So let me bring those back, and I'll put a little sparkle in there as well. Alright, then I just put a few of the mini dimensionals on there. And stuck it on the front. Isn't that so cute? I think make a very sweet table setting or a place card for a name, or even a little treat box for a wonderful after dinner treat. And I think they're just adorable. So I hope you enjoyed the project. It goes together very quickly. It's a lot of fun to make. You can get 3 of them out of a 12 by 12 sheet of the foil frenzy. I hope you give this project a try. It's a lot of fun, and the foil frenzy paper is very pretty. It's a lot of fun to work with. So if you liked my video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and please subscribe. And you're welcome to stop by my website at rejoiceandcreate.com. And until we meet again, I hope your days are blessed. Bye!